If you're trying to conceive, you totally know that intense period of waiting and wondering, right? It's that time where every little twinge, every tiny feeling sends your mind racing. It's just a time filled with so much hope. So today we're going to dive into the very first, most subtle signs that could be hinting at the beginning of that incredible journey. Let's get right into it.
So this is the big one, isn't it? This is the question that just kind of lives in your mind during that whole 2-week wait. How can you possibly know if something is happening before a test can actually give you a clear answer? Well, your body can offer some pretty fascinating clues, and we're going to explore them, starting with the one biological moment that truly kicks off a pregnancy: implantation. Okay, so let's be super clear about this. Implantation is the critical moment. I mean, before this happens, you have a fertilized egg that's just traveling along. But after this, you've got the very beginning of a pregnancy. As that little embryo burrows into the uterine lining, that single event is what triggers all the hormonal and physical changes that come next. You can think of it like the starting pistol for the entire race. Now let's get into the signs you might actually see or feel. The most direct, and let's be honest, often the most confusing ones, are the physical sensations that happen right around the time of implantation. It is so easy to mistake them for an early period, but they are actually distinctly different. First up is what's known as implantation bleeding. So when the embryo attaches, it can disrupt some tiny little blood vessels, and that can cause a little bit of spotting. The key here is that it's not a period. We're talking about really light, on and off spotting. So light, you might only notice it once or twice when you wipe. And it's not just the amount. The color is another huge clue. So, along with that spotting, you might feel some cramping. But again, these are not the intense, painful cramps that some of us get with our period. It's usually described as more of a mild pulling, maybe a faint tingling, or even a gentle stretching feeling deep in your lower abdomen. It's just a subtle sign that your uterus is starting to prepare for its new job. And this is where the differences become really clear. The color is a massive indicator. Implantation spotting is typically pinkish or brown, not that bright or dark red you see with a period. The flow is another key difference. We're talking about just spotting versus a real flow that builds up. And crucially, look at the duration. Implantation spotting is usually over in a day or two, tops. So, what's the timing for all this? Well, if we look at a typical cycle, you can see that implantation spotting and cramping usually happen around day 21 to 24. And notice where that falls on the timeline. It's about a week before your period is even due. And that's exactly why it can be so easy to get it confused. Okay, so we've covered the direct physical signs of that initial event. But what's happening behind the scenes? What's really powering all these changes in your body? Well, it all comes down to a really dramatic and super rapid shift in your body's hormones, which act like this invisible engine driving absolutely everything that comes next. Right, this is the essential question. The cramping and spotting, well, that's just the immediate physical result of the embryo attaching. But the whole cascade of symptoms that follows, that's caused by a powerful new cocktail of hormones that your body starts pumping out almost immediately. And here they are, the three main players. Progesterone and estrogen levels just surge to support and enrich the uterine lining. And then you have the new kid on the block, HCG, or human chorionic gonadotrophin. Think of HCG as the official messenger that tells your body, hey, we're pregnant, don't start a period, we gotta keep this environment stable. It's this hormone that starts doubling every 48 to 72 hours, sending out an unmistakable signal. This hormonal surge doesn't just happen in a vacuum. Nope, it creates a ripple effect throughout your entire system, and that leads to a whole host of other symptoms that many people recognize as those classic early signs of pregnancy. You know, one of the very first things so many people notice is just this overwhelming fatigue. Your body is suddenly working incredibly hard, literally building an entire life support system from scratch, and wow, that can be exhausting. At the same time, your breasts might start to feel heavy or sore or tender as those hormones get them ready for the job they have ahead. Have you ever wondered why bloating is such a classic early sign? Well, you can thank progesterone for that. This hormone is absolutely essential for maintaining the pregnancy, but one of its side effects is that it relaxes smooth muscle tissue everywhere, and that includes your digestive tract. This slows everything right down, which leads to that gassy, bloated feeling. And what about needing to run to the bathroom all the time? Even this early, your body is increasing its blood supply and your kidneys are working overtime to process all that extra fluid.
You combine that with your uterus just beginning to expand and put a tiny bit of pressure on the bladder right below it, well, that's the perfect recipe for more frequent bathroom breaks. So, beyond those more common symptoms, these hormonal shifts can cause other subtle changes too. You might feel a little bit lightheaded, or you might experience the first waves of nausea. Mood swings are also completely normal as your hormones are all over the place. Some people even report a strange metallic taste in their mouth. All of these can be part of that early pregnancy picture. So you've been symptom spotting, you've noticed a few of these signs, and now the big question is, what's next? How do you go from just suspecting something to knowing for sure? Well, this brings us to the final and most definitive step in this whole process. I know how tempting it is to test early, but patience really is your best friend here. The most reliable way to confirm a pregnancy is to wait until you've actually missed your period. This gives your body time to build up enough of that HCG hormone we were talking about, and if you can wait even a few more days after your missed period, you'll get an even more accurate result. Then you can finally take the test, which measures that HCG level to get a clear answer. And that brings our breakdown to a close. We've walked through the physical signs, the hormonal drivers behind them, and the path to getting that definitive answer. But, this journey is so unique for every single person. So after hearing all of this, what's the one thing you're still curious about when it comes to that incredibly hopeful and sometimes pretty nerve-wracking 2-week wait?